Good morning. I'm Ayerbe. I'm going to be talking about the new landscape of cybersecurity that we are constructing in Europe right now. And I'm going to be doing this by giving you an example of a pilot project, which is called Sparta. So just a few years ago, around 2017, the European Commission drafted an RDI map in all of Europe. So what they did was carry out a survey where we had around 250 centers, companies, universities answering to the survey, which gave us an idea of the current state of cybersecurity in Europe. So what did this study show? Well, first of all, that we have a lot of, carry out a lot of research, high-quality research in cybersecurity. Also, that we have certain issues in certain aspects, and also that we had a few gaps, or perhaps some gaps between the interests in Europe that were not being covered by any of the researching groups. We also saw a few issues towards meeting the demand. So in this regard, in 2018, we talked about the creation of a network of competences in cybersecurity with a European Center of Cybersecurity Competences, for which Spain has presented their candidacy, León specifically. And tomorrow we're going to hear more about this in detail from one of the speakers. And in the program H 2020, they asked for people to submit these different projects that will perhaps help grab this issue. So as a result, we had 4 pilot projects which came from competence centers that dealt with cybersecurity. So we have Spanish participation in all of these 4 projects, but no Spanish leadership. So in the space of Concordia, we have Telefónica, Atos, Caixa for cybersecurity for Europe. We have the BBVA, we have Atos, we have the University of Murcia, University of Malaga as well. In the case of ECHO, we have Telefónica. And then in the case of Sparta, which is what I'm going to be talking about, we have Indra, Erecat, Bicontec, and Tecnalia. So how has Sparta adapted this thought or this idea of trying to reduce this fragmentation of RDI that we currently have? So first of all, trying to give a shape to the systems of cybersecurity that we require to maintain the European digital coordination, autonomy. So that's why we require R&I systems that are very in line to meet the goals that we've set ourselves. And we need to incorporate the authorities, the industry, and we need this to be completely cross-sectional. We need it to include both the technological aspects, engineering, laws, etc. So all of us here already know the importance of cybersecurity. So we know the consequences that the cyber criminals have. So that's why it's so important to focus on cybersecurity and the strategy that would focus more on cybersecurity. And in this sense, Sparta is a new network of cybersecurity that is dealing with research and planning and drafting a roadmap in setting up models and networks in cybersecurity. And they're going to be setting up a network network that would connect the biggest amount of association and allies in order to create this network around cybersecurity. And this is done with 4 projects related to R and I. So a little bit of general information. We have a budget of 16 million euros. It's funded from H 2020. We have 44 partners from 14 different countries that are currently working on this project, so it's a vast country. There's also a lot of challenges, but we also have very ambitious goals, and we have an estimated duration of 36 months. So here you can see the distribution of all the different partners that we have. So we have partners in different countries, and this gives you an idea of the communications that we have between centers, partners, and universities. So in Sparta, we have a very ambitious mission, which is try to reimagine how investigation, innovation, and capacitation in cybersecurity, which is carried out in Europe, can be developed even more and can be enforced in the academic field and in the industrial field. So we aspire to have a huge impact and a lasting impact, and we hope to be able to collaborate to define and develop solutions that would allow professionals to prevent cybercrime and to help boost or improve their cybersecurity. So what challenges are we facing? So for example, how can we effectively design a European roadmap in the field of investigation and cybersecurity, and how can we make sure that it's been agreed upon with all of the parties involved? How can we cultivate an innovative thought in the field of related to investigation? How can we maintain excellence in multidisciplinary activities? How can we maintain an analysis and a strategic orientation for investigation and innovation? And what is the best way to try to implement flexibility in the investigation actions? Where perhaps we tend to think that they have to go down a certain path, but then depending on the context that we are in, they have to adapt to the circumstances. And finally, how can we make use of the strengths that we've developed over the past years in Europe? So this is all that we're trying to deal with in Tecnalia with different fields. So we have 4 projects of investigation, and the partners are working together and collaborating in order to develop and discuss these challenges that we've set out. So we have the roadmap, which is constantly being updated. And what we also do is try to coordinate ourselves with everyone that's inside of this pilot project. And we also have a network where we try to find and associate new partners that can perhaps be of great help, or perhaps go in a more light sense and with less commitment. And how this governance can adapt to the challenges and the advancements that we face. So here you can see the different fields in the work packages that we have. I'm not going to focus on them too much, but they are grouped in different topics. So we have governance on the gray bar at the back, which provides support to the other fields. And then darker orange is related to R&D, and then everything else is related to creating this community. And besides creating the cybersecurity network, we see that we are fitting in a project of H 2020, which has both the benefits and the disadvantages that this entails of trying to manage a project that has such a huge reach compared to other, like such many other projects of H 2020. So we have a committee which is in charge of managing all the scientific aspects, the task forces, which we have defined on the left side, and then everything related to awareness and training task force. So everything that's related to raising that awareness. And then we're going to see at the bottom left side the leaders that contribute to the roadmap. And then on the right side, we see the other entities that are part of the cybersecurity ecosystem. So there we see the other 3 pilot projects that we are interacting with, like EXO, or other cybersecurity entities on a European level. So since this is a network dealing with cybersecurity, so the cybersecurity competence network is key and is moved by strong governance principles. So we are testing different governance models. So with regard to Sparta, we had an original governance model that we are constantly updating, feeding, and adapting, seeing on the new situations and the new issues that might arise, and that's how we are giving a forming or updating that governance model. So if on the other side, if we want to be responsible, we have to have the ethical and moral and legal aspects in mind, which is related to the acceptation in society. So in this sense, all the work that we're carrying out with R&D, with these projects, focuses a lot on ethical and legal aspects. And we also see what other new challenges we're facing, and we try to find an answer to these issues. Because if we want the technology to be accepted by the technologies, by the citizens, by society in general, it is key to have the ethical and legal elements into account from the beginning. So the roadmap design is absolutely key. So the definition of the research and investigation in Europe have to be adapted and updated. And how can we do that? We have to do that seeing new needs that might arise, looking at our new challenges that we might face, since we're also seeing that cyber attackers, cyber criminals are also enhancing their way of their models as well, and that's why we have to, in that sense, we have to update our roadmap, which has been developed inside of the Sparta framework. And here you can see some of the fields of work. Some of them we started working on all the way from the beginning of the project. So how can we create a safer, more secure artificial intelligence, and how to ensure the assessment of a product taking cybersecurity and safety into account. But other elements have been implemented later on. For example, the challenges that cybersecurity, that quantum computation can add, or for example 5G or new generation networks, can all entail new risks. So aspects related to training and awareness. So it's important to create these aspects, and we want people to be aware of the importance of cybersecurity. So we've developed a framework of all the competences in cybersecurity. So we've studied all the university programs, and we've made sure that they were easily accessible, because who hasn't, we've heard so many times that I have a son who will be interested in cybersecurity, so where could they study this? So we also try to facilitate this information and to make it easy to access. And we also try to raise awareness in these different fields. So what have we done until now? Well, we have a cybersecurity study map. And we have a cybersecurity curricula designer. So what's important here that we're not starting from scratch. This is about giving value or updating what we've already done in other fields and try to give it more importance and work from there. So sustainable exploitation and IPR. So in the first phases that we're working on, we need to be aware of how we're going to be working on the different phases of support related to the Sparta. And here this certification for Sparta is also key. So we have different schemes of certification on a European level. So what we're trying to see, we're trying to analyze the national initiatives, and we're trying to compare these initiatives and then also see what kind of labs that we have that can help aid in the certification process. And then we also try to see how we go over from focusing on the product to focusing on the process, because we're talking about software, whether it's embedded or not, and the process and the life cycle of that software is of particular importance. And when we're talking about creating a community, we need to talk about dissemination and communication, which is something that we're actively working on. We have a website for Sparta, and from here you can also access our structures. You can see the documentation, all the work that we've carried out up until now. So we're also present in different means. So we publish a lot of articles of science, of technology. So we've had a lot of initiatives. We've worked a great deal in making women more visible that are working inside of the Sparta project. And we also have a great initiative that tries to bring schools close to, or bring cybersecurity to the schools, which has now become so important because of COVID. And it's also related to how in Thebe is trying to boost the role of women in cybersecurity, and as well, this applies to other of the initiatives that will be spoken in the next 2 days. So our work package objectives, we have 4 programs. We have the T-Shark on the one hand. So the goal is to try to detect the complex cybersecurity threats in order to try to understand them the best way possible, in order to act accordingly. Then we have HAI, which is related to the Internet of Things, Industrial Internet of Things, and all those intelligent infrastructures that we see nowadays, and how we can implement those and design and use those in the most efficient manner and to ensure that they are cyber safe. Then another program is CAPE, which deals with assessment, dynamic assessment, and the integration between cybersecurity and safety. And the last program is SAFARE, which deals with the development of a safe artificial intelligence and tries to protect it from possible cyber crime threats. And also deals with how we can adapt AI to cybersecurity the best way. So one of the key elements is how we can create this community. So in this regard, our goal is to boost the participation, the European communication in cybersecurity. And we're trying to develop a long-lasting partnership on a European level, and that's why we're working together with regional, local, national, and European organizations. We're working on developing a technical infrastructure that uses the already existing infrastructure from different partners to create common infrastructure that can be used by the associates and inside of the projects itself. And how would we mobilize that inside of the national communities through the Sparta network? So in this graph of partnership, we see the creation of structure of projects, the cooperation with projects and with other pilots. So what is the common infrastructure? So we've created a catalog of all the different tools, all the different labs that already belong to the different partners of Sparta. So, and then see if they are accessible and if it can be accessed easily and amongst what conditions. And then we also look at the infrastructure of Cyber Range, and then the virtual learning center that we have with the different Spartans. We also have a Sparta Associate program, and there are 2 levels depending on the degree of participation that the actors want to act in. So this basically, it can give access to everything, to the roadmap. They can also provide inputs to the roadmaps. They can access the infrastructure. They could also collaborate in all the different investigation programs. So they would pretty much have complete access to everything that is being done in Sparta. And they can also actively contribute, which is something that we ask of the participants, that they participate actively. And then we have Sparta friends who want to somehow participate, but not participate as much. So here we can see some of the benefits for associated partners. So obviously they would have access to the Sparta days, they would have access to the workshops, to the days. They will be able to participate in the defining of the roadmap and providing inputs. So they can use the logo and they can participate on the social media of Sparta. They can use all of the laboratory infrastructure, etc. But the ecosystem of cybersecurity is very large. So beside the 44 partners in 14 European member states, we also have over 80 associates and friends. But we're also working together with the European Commission, with the other pilot projects, with the JRC. We're also collaborating with other EU projects that are defining roadmaps such as cyberwatching, Aegis, eUnity. We're also working together with other EU agencies such as ENISA, EC3, EDA, and EU cybersecurity organizations such as EXO. And then activities outside of the European Union, because in certain fields we need to collaborate with other countries outside of the European Union, so for example with the United States or Japan. And of course there's much more, because the cybersecurity ecosystem is extremely wide and extremely complex. So here you can see our current partners with RTO, industry, academia. So here you can see all of our associates and friends. And this is our present Sparta community that we have right now. So we have the most active alliances in Spain, Italy, Germany, France, and some of the Baltic countries such as Lithuania in this case. So this also gives us an idea of how much importance we are giving to cybersecurity and how much the agents are being involved in this. So a brief summary of Sparta. Well, we have more than 29 deliverables, 57 accepted papers. We've worked on roadmaps. We're active on social media. We're actively involving friends and associates. We have several programs, Women in Sparta, Go Cyber. We've analyzed over 110 curricula, and we're constantly doing more, so it's nonstop. So at the beginning, I introduced the other 3 projects and their Spanish participants. But before I finish, I would just like to briefly talk about these other 3 pilot projects, which are Cybersecurity for Europe, for example. Here we have 43 partners in 22 different countries. We have 26 ECSO members that are currently involved in 6 ECSO working groups. And they're working, they're focusing on a community scale, and they're also working on developing that roadmap, the blueprints. And they're working on 40 cases of use, 30 use cases, which range from the banking industry to the ship industry. And lastly, the progress education, certification, and standardization initiatives. So we created our first framework for cybersecurity, and they're still working on that. So then we have Concordia, where we have 52 official partners. 42 have been funded, 10 are non-funded but are working. They have 27 academia partners, 25 industry partners, and they have 6 partners that are currently in the midst of the joining process. There are 20 countries that are members, 16 of them are 4 of them are associated. They're working on intelligence, there are threats, intelligence issues for the finance sector, for the telco sector, protecting Europe. And then we have the ECHO project. So ECHO deals with aspects related to the early warning systems, deals with, of course, the cybersecurity certification schemes, federated cyber range in a multi-sector cyber range context. And to finish, I'd like to say that the Spanish partners that are working on these pilot projects get together with us quite often, together with INCIBE, and we see that they are very well established already. And we need to keep working on extending it even more and consolidating and making it more and more visible inside of Europe. And on behalf of Sparta, I would like to invite you to become associates. And if you have any doubts or any comments, you can get in touch with us. So thank you so much for your attention. And Ayerbe, thank you so much. We have one question from some of the attendees. Well, there's 2 actually. So based on your experience with this project, so how much would they adapt to the new attacks of cyber criminals? So excellent. These are one of the main active lines of work that we have in the Sparta project. So what basically T-Shark is trying to do is trying to keep these attacks into account that the criminals are using, that the cyber criminals are using. And then what we analyze is the behavior of these cyber attackers and cyber criminals, to see how they behave and how we can deal with these threats and how we can detect them and deal with them accordingly as soon as possible. So those are one of the active lines of work inside of Sparta. So another question. So you said that on a European level, you're working on the certifications. So what are they focusing more on, the most on in Spain? So what we're seeing that every country has their own scheme, so that's why we're focusing on the certifications for each individual country, and then we're trying to see what they have, and we're trying to see what the differences are of what is defined on a European level and what can be done to adapt it.